Hello, everyone. This is Daryl. Um, Before you can enter the family tree, or before you want to add information, so on and so forth, you will need to send me your valid email address. Once you send me your valid email address, I will send you the family tree invite. In doing so, once I send you the invite and you set it up, you will either be a member where you can browse and check out everything. If I upgrade you to an administrator, you will be able to add or make changes, updates, whatever. Now, when I send you the invite, basically you send me your email address. You let me know who you are, how you related, so on and so forth. Often people will request access, but they don't tell me how they related to someone, so on and so forth. So for the most part, I don't reply. So make sure you let me know, if I don't already know, who you are, how you related, so on and so forth. Once I get that information, I'll send you the invite. It will look like this. You'll see support, blah, 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 view from Daryl Graham, so on and so forth. Once you see that, you're going to see a link. You're going to click the link. This is for those who don't already have their email address set up. You click the link. Once you click that link, it'll ask you to create a password. You create a password, you confirm it, so on and so forth, and then you're set. You go back to the family tree. Now, as far as getting to the family tree is always located at dephotoweb.com. See it at the top? dephotoweb.com. Now, right here, you'll see where it'll say request invitation. Again, you will need, when you're requesting an invitation to enter, make sure you let me know who you're related to, so on and so forth, because people just can't come in, oh, I want to enter. You need to tell me the specifics and I'll send you the information. Well, so you enter. I'm going to click sign in. There's my email address and so on and so forth. Once I sign in, type in my email address. Give me 1 second here. Once you've typed in your email address, you click sign in, and I'm in. Now, if I've already made you an administrator, to start updating, adding, changing, so on and so forth, you need to change the screen here. You need to go from a regular member to an administrator. To start editing or whatever, you're going to click edit. Click edit. It's going to ask you to punch in your email address again. Make sure you click that edit, because if you don't click edit, you'll stay on that particular screen, that brown screen, and that's not editing. You need to edit first. You need to click edit first and log in as an administrator if you are. Once you're logged in as an administrator, your screen will change from brown to this color, gray, white, or whatever. So if you're logged in and it's this color, you're not logged in as an administrator. If you're logged in as an administrator, as you can see, the color has changed. That's it as far as logging in. Next step. So again, make sure if you want to become an administrator, you want to enter the family tree, so on and so forth, you need to make sure I have your email address in the system. Once I place that information, you set up the invite, you should be in. Okay, people. So once you've logged in, then I'm already logged in as an administrator. I can just, normally you would click to edit, but since I'm already logged in, that's why my screen turned to this particular color. Now, when you want to add some information, so on and so forth, let's say, for example, birthdays. To find birthdays, the days that or date that an individual passed away or anniversaries, you would go to people, then you click events, and you check. You have two options here. You can either view it in a calendar form or view it in a list form. I like the list form somewhat better. So if you want to find out who died on a specific date, or if you want to see if that person was listed, I'm already listed in deaths. If you want to check birthdays and anniversaries, you click birthdays and anniversaries. And again, here's the calendar form, here's the list form. If you go and see that someone is missing from a specific date or whatever, well, you become an administrator. You go and add that information or what you know, and once you save it correctly, it should be listed the next time you check. Okay, people. So let's say you want to add some information. Well, you just don't go and add a new name without already making sure that that person's name has not been added yet. So there are a few ways to check. You can either type in the individual's name, let's say Daryl, Daryl, up here in the find section, Daryl, and you look for that person's name. I click that, and then I click find. It'll take you to my page and tree. Another option, you can find the person by clicking people, list of last names. Let's say G for Graham. Look for Graham, find Graham, then you find Daryl, so on and so forth. Now, once you find the person, I'm going to use Barbara. I made this person up. Give me a second. Let me go back. Barbara. All right. I'm going to use Barbara. I'm going to add her children, so on and so forth. All right. Come on, Barbara. Add up. Link up. All right, people. Here at Barbara's page, this is her family view. Every single person has his or her own family view. If an individual was raised by a pack of wolves, well, that's that person's family. That's their particular family view. Now, I'll elaborate on that later. But in every individual's family view, there's a slot for his or her biological father. This slot here, where you see David, that's the biological father. Now, individuals are adopted, so on and so forth. If the biological father is known, he or she, he goes here. If the biological mother is known, she goes here, regardless if the person was adopted. Now, so what do? Well, take for example, I have a sibling. She was raised by her adopted parents. Um, her her adopted mother was her biological mother's younger sister. She was fortunate enough to know both her biological mother and biological parents, mother and father, and both adopted parents. She also visited both sides of her family, her biological family and her adopted family. So you have to connect everyone correctly. All right, now we're going to use Barbara again. All right, now let me go back. Give me a second. I want to edit information in Barbara's profile section. Every individual has a profile section. Well, in Barbara's case, you can either click the pad, and make sure you're logged in as an administrator. If you're not logged in as an administrator, that color means you're not logged in as an administrator. That color means you are. And again, you click edit first, type in your password, so on and so forth. And if I've upgraded you to an administrator, your screen will look like this. If not, then you need to contact me and I'll add you eventually as an administrator. All right, so every individual has his or her own profile page. To get to the profile page, you click that notepad to the right of the individual's name, or you click this box for more options. As you can see, when I click that box to the right, I have edit. I can add parents. I already added the parents. I can add spouse, number of spouses, children, so on and so forth. Now, in this case, I want to edit. All right. So, I've made some notes in here. Now, you have the first name box. In the first name box, you include the first name and the nickname. The nickname is indicated in quotation marks. So the nickname doesn't go over in the middle name box. The nickname goes in the first name box. Okay. So we got the first name and the nickname. This is the current legal name. Here, the middle name box. In the middle name box, Barbara's middle name is Lee. Her maiden name is Green. The maiden name is to the right in the same box, the middle box. It's indicated within parentheses. So this right here, Green, tells me that this is her her maiden name, because it's within the parentheses. Here, because it's within a quotation marks, this indicates that this is her nickname. Now, if we didn't know either or, let's say we only knew the nickname. Well, you just put the nickname. Make sure you put it in quotation marks. Let's say you didn't know neither the first name or the nickname. Simply use question marks. Let me say question marks. Got it? All right. Now let's go to the last name. This is Barbara's last name, Samuel. All right. So if you didn't know Samuel was her last name, if you didn't know her last name was Green, simply use question marks. Now, if her father was a Wilson and you didn't know or her mother was a Green, one or the other, just by default, use one of the parents' last names until you can find out otherwise. But if you don't know the parents' last names, nor the individual's last name, use question marks. All right. And make sure, as always, you want to save your information. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. All right. So we got the names. Now, if pink indicates female, blue indicates male. Well, if I needed to make a change and change this to a male, so be it. All right. Now, last name. And some individuals, if they marry the same sex, you can add them as a male and female, and then go back, once you've saved it, go back and change it to female or two females. All right, it's a person alive, living, or deceased. Well, in this case, no. All right, here's Barbara's, the day she was born, the month she was born. You can click it, change the month. If you don't know the month, leave it blank. Here's the day. If you don't know the day, leave it blank. Here's the year. If you don't know the year, leave it blank. Now, here you have two options. You have the place. You have basic information, Baltimore, Maryland. Now, if you want to add the name of the hospital, what time the individual was born, so on and so forth, see that little box right there to the left of place? Click it. And when you click it, it opens another box within a birth section. You can add hospital, Johns Hopkins Hospital, time of birth, the time 3:15, weight at birth, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, doctor's name, Dr. Glass, so on and so forth. So all birth information you can add there. Now, Barbara passed away. You add the information you know. Let's say she passed away in another, let's say I use Dubsville. Okay, now I want to give the death information, for example. Okay, I would give the name of the funeral home if I knew it, the date of the funeral, the cause of death if known, the address of the funeral home, where the funeral was held, so on and so forth, name of funeral home. You can, if a person was, again, cause of death, you can put murdered, died of cancer, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. If a person was even proven guilty of an individual's murder, well, you can add that as well. So this is where the death notes go. Here, down the next section, this is your basic note section. This is a note section you will see when you click enter. All right, so here, let's say in this section, Barbara's birth name, her birth name was Sharon Johnson. She changed it legally in June of '95. So you add that information there. People say, well, why would you add the birth name if you change it legally? Because it's part of that individual's history, family history. If that individual were to, if that birth name and information was used in a particular census, and you try to find it in the legal name, you're not going to find it. So that's why you have both names. Also in this note section, you make little notes. Often you may find an individual was raised by someone other than one or both biological parents. Well, here you make notations. Let's say Barbara was raised by her stepfather, or raised in conjunction with her mother by her stepfather, or in conjunction with the biological father with the stepmother, or the baby's, or the biological father's girlfriend, so on and so forth. Well, you put all that information there. Also, hobbies, dislikes. In this case, Barbara graduated from the public schools or attended public schools of Baltimore, blah, blah, blah. Barbara served 20 years in the U.S. Navy, whatever you want to put in here. Once you do that, you can change. Let's say Barbara had 10 baby mama or 10 baby daddies. But this is how you put those individuals in chronological order. I can change the order. So if there were 10 altogether, you will see 1 through 10. And if I want to change the number 2 to the number 1 slot, that's number 1, and I would make this number 2 since there are 2. Now, if this was number 10, it's just a matter of changing. Now, let's say if these 2 individuals were not married. If they were married, divorced, not married. Okay, I'll put not married, just for an example. And here I would place not married. Give me a second. Okay. Not married. Well, let's say divorced. All right. And once I'm finished, I click save. Make sure you click save. You saved your work. Now, as you can see, you got the little note section. You got the depth section. Click more, and you have it all. Let me see. It's right there. Blah, blah, blah. Now, remember I mentioned if an individual was raised by someone other than one of the biological parents. Here, David is a biological parent. David wasn't there. Barbara was raised by her stepfather. Well, you find the mother's name, let's say Barbara's biological mother, Karen, and you look for Karen's husband. And what you do, let's say I'm going to add him real quick. I'll just throw that there. 2 question marks real fast. 1 and 1. Okay. Then I make a little notation. Although David was Barbara's biological father, Barbara was raised by her mother and her stepfather, whoever this person might be. I click Save. Then you got to go to the father, the biological father, because he wasn't there. You make it known. Who's that? David. I go into David's. Although David is the biological father of Barbara, Barbara was raised by her mother and her stepfather, whoever he might be, with a grandmother, so on and so forth. And you click Save. Now, as far as baby mamas, we already discussed that. A baby mama or baby daddy is included. Why? Because the children, regardless of the situation, if an individual has a child by someone, if an individual was married to someone, he or she is forever linked. Like it or not, it is what it is. People say, well, do you add stepchildren? Yes, the stepchildren will be added to their biological parent. Because the biological parent marries an individual, well, that individual automatically links those children. Well, what if your ex-girlfriend, you have 5 children by your ex-girlfriend, and she meets someone, they get married, and they have another child, and she has another child, but it's not your child. Well, unfortunately for you, that child, that family, that new husband is linked to the same tree, because you just don't go back and try and erase it, because you can't erase history. You can hide, lie, and whatever, but history is history. So let's say if Barbara were to marry someone else, when you go into those 2 individuals, the new husband, it will ask for his children. And when you add his children, it will ask for his children's both mother and father. And it just keeps going. That process repeats itself with every single name added. So for every single name you add, regardless of the circumstances, it will ask for this father, biological mother, the individual's name if known, same as with the parents. If the child was raised by someone else, you make a little note in the individual's note section, and all the biological children. As far as the adopted children, so on and so forth, you add them as well. Now, some individuals know both their adopted parents and their biological parents. Well, what do? I have a sister, younger sister. She was adopted by her mother's younger sister. So she was fortunate enough to know both her adopted parents and her biological parents. Well, you put the biological mother in the biological mother's slot, but you want to make a notation. Although so-and-so is a biological mother, so-and-so was adopted and raised by whoever. And you make a notation in all parties in question. The adopted parents, the foster parents. Foster parents are family. I mean, it is what it is. Earlier I mentioned about the pack of wolves. If you were raised by a pack of wolves in the forest, well, at the end of the day, the pack of wolves were your family. So your foster parents, if they were important, then they too are linked. Now, your biological parents may be known, may be added in a correct slot, but you make reference or acknowledgement to who raised you, so on and so forth, keeping the record straight. Some individuals may have a different last name. Well, if so-and-so is his or her father, why does he or she have a different last name? Well, somewhere down the line, it should be noted. Although so-and-so is the father, oh, that's how she got that last name. the mother's ex-boyfriend, so on and so forth, or the father's ex-girlfriend, something or another. But again, it's just a matter of keeping the record straight. And that's it for that portion. I will return.